It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Are you kidding me? Thank you for creating a platform. I've got a podcast myself, and so I know what it's like to put in the time and the effort and the coordination. And I just think podcasting is amazing. So I'm
It
happy to
is.
be here with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's great. So let's begin our journey into your work. There's so much going on. I want to begin with 5 years ago, this pandemic started, and we were all thrown into the unknown. How did you make it through that pandemic era, and how has it reverberated and affected the way that you live life and do things today?
Solid question. Okay. So I think back 5 years ago, where were we at? So my husband is a firefighter. So
Okay.
from that standpoint, that's where we really felt, I would say, the most. So the way that changed just some of the habits in the fire service that he then brought home to our family. At that time, we probably had, let's see, our two kids, definitely under the age of 5.
Yeah.
So that navigating, that season just being a fire family. And then from a work standpoint, I was working in corporate America. I've been a remote leader for 10, 11 plus years. So
Yeah.
remote work, my daily life didn't necessarily change, but I was in staffing at the time. So I got the 30,000 foot view of all of the ways that the different organizations and companies that I was supporting, how they were impacted and the way that it entirely changed the way that we work today.
So there's a lot going on with you. You're a best-selling author, you're a podcast host, you're a coach, you're a speaker, entrepreneur, you got all these things. But if we were to boil it down to something that people could understand, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of kids. Sixth graders, career day, the kid in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What is that answer?
Great question, Joe. I love this
Good,
already. Okay.
good.
Okay, what do I do for a living?
Yeah.
I teach people how to start their own purpose-driven businesses. So
Okay.
take that passion and turn it into a profit. That's what I do. You want to make money doing the things that you love, like really doing the things that you love.
Yeah.
That's what I can help you do.
What did you want to be when you were in the sixth grade? What was your dream life?
I almost don't want to tell you.
You can make
So
something up.
I Right. It was one of those things where, can't say that I had really like huge dreams for
Sure.
myself necessarily. I just wanted to make a lot of money and I really didn't care what I had to do it.
Sure.
I was fortunate enough to find a career in staffing where it's extremely lucrative.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until just a year ago actually a year ago this week that I jumped out of corporate
Yeah.
to follow my own purpose driven dreams. And that is when, in a series of 10 months, had a book deal, became a best-selling author, stood up a podcast of my own, stood up a coaching business. And so it really is I just hands down believe that if somebody wants something bad enough and they're willing to surrender to that purpose and that calling and those genuine interests, that doors just start flying open. And if you show up with a yes, it's my life looks entirely different now.
But you obviously are highly driven. You have something in your DNA that has made you do all of this. Take me back to where you were born and raised. What were these foundational seeds that were planted that have eventually
Mm.
evolved into where you are today?
I think a lot of us have the high achiever syndrome.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's that perseverance programming, and I think that again, it stems back. You want to go all the way back. I mean, when we're babies taking our first steps, like our parents are like, "Good job, just one more, just keep going."
Huh?
And so, what do? We learn how to just keep going, and we learn how to keep just fighting for the next like notch on the belt.
Yeah.
And then we get into our adult lives where, like, when is the work ever done? When is the season ever done? And so
Yeah.
we weren't really taught how to quit things, especially things that aren't serving us. And so that's been a huge part of my story. So the DNA is this perseverance programming. We always want to achieve. We always want to everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to be the best in at least something. Everybody wants to be a master of a craft. So I'm no different than any other stereotypical high achiever. Where I'm different is that I started making choices and I started seeing patterns of things that weren't serving me. And I had to reframe that quitting was not failure because that's what I thought for a very, very long time, but that quitting was freedom. And when I did that, I started realizing that quitting it's quitting the things that aren't serving us. It's quitting the comparison. It's quitting the always being busy. It's quitting some of those high achiever things that we all do.
Yep.
That's where the freedom was unlocked. So I'm going to turn this back on you though,
Sure.
because you are doing lots of things too, sir.
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do you think that it comes from?
I think being so I was the youngest of three. I was 4'11" for most of my high school life. I couldn't get into sports and do these things. So I've always been waving my arms to get somebody to pay attention to something. And that's just old guy
Good.
logic that I've figured out over time. But it's like you said, you're totally right. We have been groomed to do things and to be evolved and to have energy and to go for it and move forward. So I think there was always that, but I think at the end of the day, I knew that I couldn't be an athlete, but I wanted to have my voice out there. And I think it just kind of evolved into it. And, jazz was later on. I'm glad I didn't go into sports broadcasting because I found something that was genuinely more befitting. But yeah, I think it's just that whole
Mm-hmm.
drive. And there's these things that are woven into you early on that you may not realize until you've been on the planet long enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you
100%.
start, and I didn't realize that until a few years ago when I really put two and two together. It was like I was just trying to get a little bit of attention, positive attention, and it seemed like this
Yeah.
realm made sense. So yeah, yeah,
But like you're saying, I mean, it's those, and that's the work that I do, that purpose-driven work, because there are 100%, there are pieces of us that are woven in, that are divinely connected in ways that are only that they're unique to us.
yeah,
There will never be another you on this planet. Again,
sure,
like so your experiences, your perceptions, your passions, your skills, your experiences, like that's all woven together for a deeper purpose. And then it sounds like potentially it sounds if I'm hearing you right, in those last couple of years, that's where you also, just like me, realized, hey, maybe I should be doing something
sure,
with this piece that like has been pressed on my heart.
yep,
And then when we actually started showing up in that capacity, I know at least for me, game changer,
yeah.
life opened, abundant, purpose, joy, freedom, all of those things we all talk about.
Yep. But at the same time, the cornerstone to all of that is risk. So if you're teaching
Yeah.
people to have a purpose-driven existence of being their own entrepreneurs, they have to get over that. So my question to you is, what's the biggest risk that you've taken in your career?
Hands down, a year ago when I walked away from a thriving corporate career. Okay. This wasn't something like, oh, I had an okay job. No, I
Yeah,
had almost 10 years tenure. I was winning, I was top performer of the year in a $5.6 billion international organization. My team was slinging it across the world. We were breaking records.
yeah,
And I knew in my gut that work that I used to dream about, work that I used to salivate over, that it was no longer aligned to what I felt there was a deeper purpose that I needed to be walking in. And so that was the riskiest thing, walking away from what I believed to be, a stable paycheck, a good job,
yeah.
credibility, all of those things. And yeah, dropping it at the door so that I could pick up a greater plan so that I could pick up more abundant living that I didn't even realize I was missing out on, honestly.
So who was that inspirational force for you to do not only that, but in general over your career? Who has been that heroic force for you?
I mean, I always my maker above, like that's for
Yeah,
sure. He like there's I believe in that and his divine plan for my life. My family too. Like you asked that question, like, what'd you want to be when you grew up? And I
yeah,
told you I really didn't have great grand plans for my life at all. And
sure,
every single time I put down one of my plans, like for instance, I when I was sixth grade, I just thought I was going to be in a skyscraper in New York City by myself, making a whole bunch of money. I didn't, never, ever did I write into my own script that I would marry my high school sweetheart, that we would have two beautiful babies, that I would get to be so present in my life, in his life, in their life. Never in a million years would I have written that into my own plan. And so all of that's my driving force, holding on to the beauty of that. What's your driving force?
it's same things, family. I'm very involved with my family, and just I think in general you find the purpose of what you want to do. Like there was always that
Yeah.
desire to get into journalism to cover stories, and it's evolved into this medium that I never even knew it didn't exist when we were kids. So we're kind of on a new frontier. We're kind of chartering this new territory. But this all makes sense to me to be able to put things out that are quality, and the democratization of our society will say we want to tune in or we don't, and that's kind of a really good place to be. Plus, I think there's that idea of doing it on your own and having it be independent. Like, for instance, about 2 weeks ago, one of the biggest radio personalities in Kansas City overnight was told that their show was off the air. Like, the only person in Kansas City that was like, his name is Johnny Dare, and it was like over with, but he got to have one more show. And I think about those narratives in the media and even in podcasting in this world where it's like you can kind of be in control of your own world. You could be in control of the content. You could be in control of all of those aspects, and you don't have to worry about someone coming in and saying it's over with because
Yeah.
we have, profits or this isn't fitting in. It's like it fits in because you want to do it, especially as an entrepreneur with what you're doing. This is your raison
Especially.
d'etre, you know?
Hmm. Yep.
And
And same thing. I mean, that's I part of my, I'll say it was a wake up call was I had this moment where I was like, what is this all for? I am busting my butt to keep climbing this corporate ladder for what?
yep,
For what? And it was for all of the things that they, right? Like in quotes, they say success looks like.
yep,
And it kind of was like, well, wait a second. What if I define success on my own terms? What
sure.
does success look like? And I sure as heck didn't answer the question with pushing somebody else's bottom line,
Yeah,
building somebody else's dream.
yeah.
And that was part of my wake up call where I was like, no, if I'm going to be working this hard, I'm going to be working this hard to build my dream, to build up my family, and then to build and impact others in the way that I know I am, again, divinely created to serve in the best way.
Coming from Generation X, we kind of were the first generation to kind of get away from that antiquitous 50s notion,
Mhm.
travel more, put more importance on relationships.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think now with the millennials and Gen Zs, they're doing that in a magnanimous way. Excuse me. Something got stuck. So I think that's the beauty right now. We're in an evolved state of younger people doing this. That's
Yeah.
becoming the norm. It's not I'm going to graduate from school and work for somebody else. I have an idea, I'm going to do it. And I think that's
Yeah.
great. And I think it's infusing older generations to follow suit.
I think so too. I'm seeing both sides. So I've got three younger siblings,
Yeah,
and you're seeing all of them right now in college, and you're seeing this pull where they're not quite sure that they really want to go the route that everybody, again, quote unquote, says you're supposed to go
yeah,
because they're seeing that possibility has been opened up in a different container,
yeah.
the container of entrepreneurship, the container of doing things a different way. And now we're in this cultural, phase where it's a little bit more acceptable, and they're kind
Uh-huh,
of playing with it, getting a little curious. And it's
uh-huh,
really beautiful to watch.
yeah. So let me ask you
Yeah.
this. If you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating, maybe spend some time with them, learn something that would help you on your journey, who would that be?
I mean, the very first place that my brain went was actually my youngest daughter. I know that sounds
Okay.
crazy. Like,
Okay.
right? Like if I could spend when it was like, hey, who could you meet? Like I just want to keep almost meeting her over and over again
Yeah.
because she changes so fast.
Yep.
And so, and when it's and to just even complete the sentence of like, so that it would help you on your journey. I think so many of us, we take things so seriously and we forget like this childlike wonder that is also innately part of us. And
Yeah.
I find that the more time I spend genuinely like present with my children, it unlocks like these playfulness caverns almost in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. And if I get to choose like how I want to spend my last days, like I want to lean into that because I just think that it unlocks this magic that is just it's right there. It's right, it's so tangible. It's in
Yeah.
my hands.
Yeah. So let's
Oh, different
let
answer.
yeah, I love it. Let's elongate that idea of wanderlust and
Mm,
magic. If you have a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
The same advice I give myself every morning. Get out of your own dang way, would
Yeah,
you? Like
yeah.
get out of your own dang way. Get
Hmm.
out of your own head. Stop with the lies. Like just find ways. I would say find ways to hold on to truth in every aspect of my life. What
Yeah.
would you say? What would you say to your 18-year-old self?
I would say do do what you feel is right. Go with your instincts,
Hmm.
which is something that I did, but it was still hard to do. But to be reassured with anything that has transpired in my life at this point at 52, just literally go with what you think makes sense and don't listen
Hmm.
to other people. There's so much noise. There's so many people that give you advice that, the thing about advice is there's good and there's bad.
Yes.
You got to be very careful, right? That's the
Yes.
thing. So just go with your gut and go for it. And we're going to still make mistakes. Nothing is going to be the perfect lottery number, but at least, you know, that would be the good way to go. So this is to further that idea of youth, and just fun. Let's say you walk into a room of everybody you worked with in corporate America, all of your clients that you've worked with now, and you walk and swim through that gallery of people and go to a podium in front of the room. And you can tell that room one fun thing about you, one fun story, one fun anecdote that would humanize you in a way that would be apart from business, that would endear them to who you are. What story would you tell them? Maybe a first concert that you went to, something along those lines.
I can't say I've got anything coming through on this one. It's and I think part of it is because one of the reasons that I had so much success in corporate was because I learned very early on that I was sought after because I was so authentic.
Yeah,
I was sought after because I was so human.
yeah.
I was sought after because I was the person who would absolutely start off a board meeting coming in asking if anybody else's toddler had vomited all over them this morning, just asking for a friend. And so when I think about like myself in that space, I kind of already feel like, well, everybody already knows everything.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think maybe that's one reason why there's not a particular story. I know that is probably a really boring answer for you.
No, that's a good answer. I mean, you're being authentic, so that's it. What they need to see, they're going to see no
Yeah.
matter what, and you don't need to add anything on top. So I get it. I totally get it. It's a
No.
great answer. So how do you balance all this out with all of these things that are going on between family and all these business pursuits? And when you're in charge of your own gig, being an entrepreneur, there's a lot that goes into it. What gets you up every day to do all of this at the best, most meaningful
Mhm.
level?
So much structure. And
Yeah,
I know that that sounds, and it's structure with, I mean, it's agile. It has to be, right?
right.
But I believe in the power of routines. I believe in, in not doing it by yourself. Even simple like family systems, I think are really important. I mean, again, I've got two young children. My husband is on shift frequently. Like, so the things that keep us going is like that everybody participates. It's not just mom picking up the shoes. So there's household systems, there's business systems that I have. I keep a really good structure on that. I know exactly when I'm putting in time into my podcasting, when I'm putting in time into my clients, and I have no problem telling people no. I always think of like it's boundaries is what it comes down to. And for me, the best way that I look at boundaries is I look at boundaries like swim lanes in a pool.
Yeah,
And those swim lanes, the beautiful thing is that they're with buoys. So if you're willing to set the buoys, then at least you have like these predetermined lanes, this
yeah,
predetermined lane for work, this predetermined lane for family, this predetermined lane for extended family.
yeah,
And yes, sometimes there is a shift in the buoys, and maybe it does like slightly shift some of the other buoys, but because they are established swim lanes, it doesn't wreak complete chaos
Yeah.
in the pool. So we're really good about boundaries, really good about communication. If there's something that we need, like for instance, right now, my family knows that the next 7 days, Joe, outside this interview, truly, the next 7 days, my family knows that I am eyeballs deep in there's one particular task on my desk.
Yeah.
We've cleared the calendar because it's important to mom's business. It's important to our life. It's important to what we're doing. And everything else just needs to kind of sit idle for the next 7 days. And
Yeah.
we're all on board with that.
Yeah. That's good. That makes total sense. Let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done and accomplished and become in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I am the I'm the proudest that for as much as I get in my way, I wake up every single morning. I really do like the person I see in the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that because that has been a journey. That is not something that I could have always said. But when I look at her, she's looking at back at me like there's just such a man. We've been through some stuff.
Yep.
Um, I like me, Joe.
Yeah. So speaking of you, everyone has a perception of you in all these different lights, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Ooh, wee. I'm a purpose warrior.
Yeah.
I am a purpose warrior and I am courageous as heck. I often don't know what I'm doing. Like most of us, right?
Right.
I
Right.
often don't know what I'm doing, but by golly, I'm going to show up. I'm going to walk into that room, whether I think I belong there or not. I'm going to say the thing, whether I think it's comfortable for everybody or uncomfortable for everybody. I'm here for a purpose, on purpose, with purpose. And I own that through and through. Let's go, Joe.
I love it. What do you love the best about living in Denver?
Oh goodness, the weather. Are you kidding me? It's
Yeah.
like we can have snow one day and then the next day it's 65 and we're sitting
Uh-huh.
out on the back patio with beverages.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. I remember that. I went up there for the 4th of July a few years ago, and it was crazy how many things transpired, when you're in the mountains. It's just a different world, you
It's a
know?
different world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different. So if anyone wants to get your book, they want to reach out, any of the good business, hire you, where do they go?
All the things. So BrittneyTollinchi.com. I know that's a tough one. So it's Brittney and then Tollinchi, TOLLINCHI.com. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. I've got my podcast, Unjuggle the Struggle, where I show up authentically through all of the stuff that I'm unjuggling in my own life. So I'm out there, Joe, and
Uh-huh.
I just so appreciate you. Thank you
Yeah,
for creating this stage. Thank you
sure.
for reaching out to folks. Thank you for, yeah, this has been wonderful.
It's been my pleasure. And a very last question, kind of a meta question. What do you love the best about podcasting?
Oh man, what do I love the best about podcasting? I love that podcasting has been probably one of the most surprising gifts, surprising gifts in my life. I never thought I'd start a podcast that wasn't on the radar. I
Yep.
happened to do it because it was an opportunity. It was a door that swung open and it was like, yes, I was
Yeah.
showing up with my yes. And what ended up happening in this beautiful space of podcasting is I got to meet new people.
Yep.
I got to connect with people like you, like your energy, Joe. When else would I have connected with such an
Sure.
incredible like light in the world? Like you're incredible.
Thank you.
So I get to meet new people. It's tossed me into new communities. I've had conversations that I have been thirsty for. I am not the type of person who wants to walk into a room and just talk about like, oh, the weather
Yeah.
necessarily. Like
Right.
I want if in the first 3 minutes we ain't going deep and I don't know
Yeah.
like your deepest, darkest dreams, like
Uh-huh.
I'm out, not interested.
Yeah.
So actually having a space where I get to invite people into having those expansive conversations it's been so life-giving.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
know.
so life-giving.
It's
How about
that
you? What's your favorite?
That's yeah, your answer was so spot on. It was so surprising. I see modern podcasting as therapy. I see it as a modern version of getting in there and realizing that what we get portrayed in the media is not what's actually happening on this planet. And when you think about all of the things that we're told that breaks and goes wrong, I find in this realm that there's so many things that are glued together for a reason. There's so many things
Agreed.
that are emulsified over the evolution of our communication process as human beings for a reason, because we've worked on it, and we all work on our lives. I mean, all of the little things that we do, sometimes we question because it's hard being a parent and being a human on this planet. But at the end of the day, when you can come into a realm like this and celebrate the fact that we're all doing things that we want to do, and there's such a wide variety of it, there's to me, it's just like you said, it's a very surprising gift to be able to be involved with, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah,
So it's
same.
good. It's good. Hey, this has been wonderful. It's so great to meet you. Have a wonderful next 7 days with your focus, and best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.